Hi, everybody. This is a new episode of Time to Get Unstuck on the Hypno 24/7 Live Network. Greg Beckett, motivational hypnotist here. And I have a wonderful guest, Jen Wilding. Before I introduce Jen, as I always do, I want to talk a little bit about our sponsor, which is Hypnothoughts Platinum. Now, Hypnothoughts Platinum, there's Hypnothoughts Live every August in Las Vegas, and Jen and I have both gone. And Hypnothoughts Platinum is a little bit different. It's going to be in San Diego, February 28th and 29th and March 1st of 2020. And what it is six speakers, six wonderful speakers for 3 days with 6 different topics. And it's about going from good to great. If you're a new hypnotist, it's probably not for you. It's more selective in who they have to speak. They choose these speakers, and it's about taking your business as a hypnotist and your skills to the next level. So if you would, I think Jen knows some of these speakers, Jason Lynette, Kelly T. Woods, that's 2. Let's see, a couple more. Steve Ream, Ken Guzzo, Melissa Tears, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's got to be one more. It'll come to me in a minute. But they're all wonderful, no matter who is there of those 6 that you get to see. I think everybody's in one room, and then you see each half a day. So go to Hypnothoughts, actually htplatinum.net to find out more information. And thank you for sponsoring us. So now back to the show. We're taking a word from our journey of moving forward. And I have really someone that's dear to me is Jen Wilding. And Jen and I have known each other for a number of years. I find her to be very engaging and smart and lovely and kind. She is a hypnosis practitioner, an author, and a speaker. So welcome, Jen.
Thanks for having me.
I'm pleased to have you. I'm thrilled to have you. Now, the word that we've chosen for today is a big one. It's perspective. So I'm actually going to throw it to you at this moment. What's your thoughts on, I know, right? You're like, woo! What's your thoughts on perspective?
Perspective.
I guess it's what's your perspective on perspective.
Exactly. My thought. So yeah, I knew we were going to do this word. You said that it came up a couple times that you were thinking of me in this word. And I thought that's appropriate because when I think about perspective, I think about worldview, our individual worldviews that we have, our reality tunnels. And that really got me thinking about how as hypnotists, that's a big piece of what we do. I don't even think hypnosis is the most impressive thing that we do. I think that what we are doing is changing people's perceptions through engaging different perspectives. But even more than that, the value in what we do is that we're operating in a way that presupposes that there's a gap, and it's a gap that I like to call sort of the magical gap or the enlightenment gap or the gap, not necessarily between the conscious and the subconscious mind and working that relationship, but the gap between the self, the operator self, and our story, or what I actually consider ego to be synonymous with story. And that's not something that's my perspective on that. Not everybody has that viewpoint, but from the way that I operate, I think it's something that is beautiful in the way that what we do is we invite people to come into a framework where we're separate enough that we're outside of our story enough that we can see it as something separate from ourselves.
Okay, I'm going to jump in for a second.
Go for it.
When you're talking about, when I work with clients, I like to think of myself, and I've said this before in other episodes, that I turn on a light and we're in the middle of the forest and I'm guiding people and letting them choose what they need to change their story or to develop their story, right? And to change their perspective. I'm not in their mind. I can only take what they gave me. And I think this is what you were talking about just now. I take what they gave me. I'm not in their forest of their mind, so to speak, but I'm there with a light. so that I can kind of say, hey, look at this that's a little bit different than what you told me, or a little bit brighter, or a little bit more freeing, or a little bit more available to change, allow them to gather their tools or whatever it is they need to change their perspective. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, and I would even say before they even got to your office.
Right. Or your office.
Or my office. Sorry, I've got some emergency vehicles going by. I hope everybody's
all right. We're good.
Noise. So before they even got there, our work presupposes that story is malleable. And that, to me, when you're able to make that connection in life, is the space where people have those enlightenment experiences. Like, it's a really big thing.
Well, you're talking about that story being malleable, right?
Editable, I don't know, changeable.
Yeah. It could be reconfigured, or however it is.
Exactly.
Pliable. That's a good one.
Pliable.
So if that's true, they also have to have some sort of belief behind that, of whatever problem they have, that it is pliable before they even pick up the phone or decide to make a change, to decide to call, whether it's us or any kind of therapist or Reiki person, whatever it is they're going to, right? They have to already have that in their head, that there's got to be hope.
Yeah.
Or that there's a possible change. It can be possible. And so then that has to be a perspective that started even before they showed up. And it's a willingness to allow it to be molded or changed, or that perspective to change.
Yeah, I think when people hear, so hypnosis is kind of a novelty thing that we do. It's kind of the new thing, that attracts clients a lot of times if they're new to that idea. And it sort of opens up that question. So it's useful in that perspective, that it is something that intrigues people and causes them to think, is that possible? Is it possible to make changes? And they might seek out a dialogue to find out from us or someone else, ask around or talk to friends, like, is that true? Is that possible?
Right.
They might be getting it might be a referral situation where they're hearing about how someone's telling them that it's possible, and it's a new thing that kind of opens up for them this space that, oh, wow, okay. And they may not fully even understand it yet, but I just love that is something that we get to play in as a facilitator with a client, because that is the stuff that the best of life is made from. Like the creation of your best life comes a lot of times from that recognition and then working in it. And we get to do that. So I feel like it's such an honor to work with anybody on that. With, a lot of my work is very focused on character and story and archetypes, as you know.
Yeah. You do stuff on archetypes, and that there's like, is it 5? What's the basic number?
So I mean, there's hundreds of archetypes.
Right, but don't we? No.
So, but my methods, Silcape,
right.
Is that what you're thinking of, maybe? So scripting your life, character archetypes, plot, and ensemble, those are things that I'm working with clients. I use that as a framework. It is a perspective. It is my philosophy of working, is that we are going to be approaching this as character and story and narrative, because that's what's in there. I mean, we do emotional work,
right,
but how do we even know what to feel? How does our nervous system even know what to feel about anything if we don't have some sort of subconscious meaning that's been devised from that?
I find that interesting when you're talking about feeling, because for me, working with clients, and when they come in, sometimes it just takes 1 or 2 words, and they're there, and just like they've been priming themselves, and all these, whether it's tears or emotion, just all comes out in a moment, right?
Yeah.
And almost either just a release or a relief valve allows them to pour all this out, to say, okay, and clear a slate to go, now where do we go?
Yeah.
It's almost like the green flag of saying, okay, let's change perspective. And a lot of times, I know when I've been stuck, and I still get stuck, this whole show of Time to Get Unstuck is about all of us in different divisions of our life. We get stuck, And because we're running that same track,
Yeah.
we can't see where to grab, to pull out, or just make one slight change if we don't know where our perspective is, right? To know where we're going to go.
Well, yeah, I mean, from the problem perspective, you can see a lot of problem. Everywhere you look, you can see problem, and even new stuff coming at you can be through the filter of that problem. So state is very important from an emotional standpoint. It connects our memories. It connects what we're filtering in, how we're taking in new information. So that we acknowledge the importance of that in what we do. And I love that I know that you are really bold about going in there for just like whatever it is, like just giving somebody the space to have the big emotions with you. And yeah, I mean, the way that I know your work and you as a person is that you desire to be that. And I think when you set that expectation up too, even before they walk in, they know, they have a story. It's a very loose structure story. So it's not all the details, right?
Right.
They have a story that I'm coming here to have an emotional change. Like they're probably like, even sometimes on my intake sheet, I will have somebody put, what do you think is the cause of your problem? And I'll get their language. They might say emotional blocks.
Right.
So they already know we're going to be doing emotional work. And so they already know. So they already have a story that what this is going to be about, and I haven't even had to say anything, is that we're going to have an emotional transformation. And just being there in a way where energetically we're able to have a safe space for that.
Right.
Is so lovely and wonderful.
I always, when I think of you, or I've always thought of you, I think, or thought, or whatever the word is, currently and in the past, of very kind of not woo-wooey, because people that in hypnosis, some people think of people very analytical, other people very woo-wooey. Woo-wooey, what I mean, is more ethereal and energy and stuff, and then some people in the middle. And I find it always interesting when we speak how you combine a lot of the two, but yet still stay in that strength space of logic.
I'm very logic driven, yes.
and that's what I like about you, because you have a way of explaining things and still allowing that energetic life to come into the work that you do, and at the same time allowing people to be, especially the more intellect people, the being able to like meet in the middle.
Yeah.
And then allow some of that in. If they're way over here in intellect, you allow some of that in to where maybe they can just move just a little bit. And if someone's way over here, you're like, wait, there's some logic to this. So I always like that about our conversation.
Well, yeah, I think what you know, and you may have a little bit of insight more so than other people. If you recall, when we first met, I was very involved in doing speaking to groups that were very specifically skeptic, scientific oriented. And I had to really know that audience and appreciate that audience and their language and what is acceptable and what isn't. And even speaking at universities to students that were in that mindset or programs. And then also, I mean, having people that I am friends with, I mean, it's California, so Los Angeles at that. So you're not going to, if you're in the self-help, self-development arena, you're not going to stay in that for long before you come into all sorts of broader perspectives.
Right.
And I do view it as a spectrum, the spectrum of woo. But yeah, I like to play in different models. What's nice about perspective, going back to that word, is that we can artfully, and if we're good at it, it's a craft of go in and out of a perspective. Even my client, I'm going into trance with them. I'm sharing in that moment, so I can really identify things, because I'm a facilitator there, so I need to know what we're working with. I really give over to that. I don't feel, I've gotten to the point where I don't have to feel like it's a dangerous thing, because I don't have to leave with it. I have ways of being able to detach myself and also appreciate that for what it is. It doesn't have to be a part of me. Where some people, I think, in general in life, they're either so molded to their own perspective that they think it's their truth, right? And they can't come out and have that editing of their own perspective. But even to have the better relationships that you have when you are aware that that other person has a perspective that's different than mine, and I may not agree with it, but I want to understand it so that I can communicate with it. And I can go in there and learn and say, I don't always have to be right. I can just appreciate it. And just doing that doesn't mean it's going to attach itself to me. I don't have to fear
that you're carrying everything else around with you. And
yeah.
When we talk about perspective, I thought it was interesting you're just talking about now. It's really, I want to say this for people that are not hypnotists. When Jen was talking about, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was talking about going into trance with clients, typically as hypnotists, trance or hypnosis is just a relaxed, focused concentration. So I know for me, and you probably tend to do the same thing, and you said you did, so that's a yes.
Yeah.
We go into trance with our clients. It's not that we don't know what's going on or whatever. It's just that we're so focused on our clients and what's going on and the energy and the feeling and the issues and really with them. It's like going to a good movie or doing a good puzzle that's so entrancing that it allows us to be in that same space with someone individually yet together to do that work. Do you think that was an okay explanation for people that don't?
Sure. Now, I don't entirely get absorbed in it. I take enough of my own self to remember that I'm facilitating and
right, exactly.
Right. It's not like completely
right, exactly
from me.
Right.
But there is a heightened state of focus on how they're viewing their problem.
Right.
And I know that I'm there with a specific role. Like you said, I love the metaphor of the flashlight. Of being there to identify. Sometimes I go into a detective archetype. I love that. Right. Of what's here that we can work with. And I'm not adding anything. I'm not adding anything from my world. I'm looking at what's already in there with the story and the values that the archetype within their subconscious holds. How can we do some shifting around and rearranging that's all still you? And have it emerge as something that creates the outcome that they desire.
I just had a thought. You saw it, it's we were talking about perspective and everything and how story and archetype, and it makes me think of I did an episode not too long ago with Paul Ramsey about belief. So really when we're talking about perspective, we're talking about beliefs. It's just a different type of word that might have just a little bit different meaning to some people.
Yeah,
and what that
perspective can be a framework within a belief system. It is, yes, beliefs. I also think of it as sort of the camera operator. In Hollywood, we are actually conditioned to omit the camera as a character and just get absorbed in the story. But in our work, we actually have an awareness of like, okay, the person who's also having the experience is there too, the operator, as separate from the story. And that's something I carry with me. This a little bit a side segue thing, but when I'm vetting information that's coming at me, whether it's like news, like journalism, whether it's viral videos or whatever, I always consider that I'm getting it through a perspective. I'm getting it through someone else. So it may not be a truth. And a lot of what happens now is nothing close to the journalism that I would consider quality journalism.
We won't go there.
Opinion editorials are news, ladies and gentlemen. So, but what I'm considering, what did they omit? What is purposefully being omitted? And did they ask the questions that I would have asked as a journalist? Or if it's a video, there's a camera person, and when did they start that video? Were they just filming this from beginning to end, or is it a security camera and it's a stationary thing, or is it somebody that whipped out their phone? They're on the scene.
Well,
and
I'm sorry.
I don't want to omit them because I'm aware that we're conditioned to do that. I start consciously putting them in the scene and be like, why did this person decide to film then? Why are they not intervening sometimes? What happened before the video started?
What's going on behind?
Right. So we're always getting just a perspective. And it's almost, everything is nuanced with that artistic perspective and point of view. So it's very helpful to not just accept, oh my gosh, be triggered by it and have it just feed right in that clickbait. I like to ask questions.
Well, when we're talking about working with clients and they come to us with a story.
Yeah.
we always know that that is their story. And I take their story, but also I go, okay, I wonder what the person that was involved in that situation that they're explaining to me, what's their story? Or what happened before they met up with this person? Or was that via text to get a perspective? Because we take on, when we text relationship stuff or things like that, we're taking on our own feelings of how they texted it with our own feelings on top of it, not even knowing the perspective of what someone sent.
Yeah.
That, you know, so perspective is really important when we're working with our feelings, with clients, or as a person that's watching that wants to work on their own issues and things, is what's the other person's perspective and what's my part in it?
Yeah.
Right? What's my part in my perspective that I'm not willing to see theirs? And what's part of their perspective that they're trying to get me to see that I'm afraid of? Right? Because if you're afraid of something, you hear that, right?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So we have a couple minutes. This went by so fast.
It always does.
Oh, yeah, really fast. Is there anything that particularly that you wanted to say or wrap up with on perspective?
On a last note, what you were talking about, it really enhances relationships. You know, I've worked with a lot of women for love relationships because I got a lot of referrals that way, and that's what my book was oriented to. But yeah, it helps to have an awareness that your perception of the other person in the relationship may not be accurate. And just opening that up and asking questions there can really enhance. There may be things going on that you think are true that are not true.
Right. And from a place of willingness to look at it.
Yeah. I mean, and I've certainly dealt with that myself too.
Yeah. So cool. Let's do this. Where can people find you?
They can find me at silcapemethod.com, and that is spelled SYLCAPE, and it's pronounced Silcape, like rhyming with agape. Okay. But that's an acronym.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's what. Do you have any other social media stuff, or you're good like that? I mean,
you can find me on Instagram, JEN_Wilding, WILDING.
Cool. And if anybody wants to find me, of course, I'm here on the Hypno 24/7 Live Network. Greg at hypnosisla.com, hypnosisla.com's website. And so also Facebook page, Greg Beckett, Motivational Hypnotist. I want to thank Jen for being here. Like I said, it went so fast. I must have had a good time with you, as I always do. Oh. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And I look forward to maybe having you on again, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.